Everybody, welcome to another Comic Tropes live stream specifically for Inktober. Give me a moment. Those who have tuned in the last few nights know the drill. I am currently on vacation in New York. I don't have access to my full equipment, so I precariously balance my iPhone across some waste baskets. I've got one on top and one below, and that's the best I can do for now. But it looks like I've got that set up. Today's prompt was Husky. So I decided to do Jason Voorhees because he's a Husky boy, you know? That's what I'm thinking. So, oh, hello, Franco. Thank you very much for jumping in. Hello to Seed Hill from Scotland. Ah, nice to see you. What's a traditional Scottish greeting? Give me one. Hello, James Stewart. Well, hello there, Jimmy. What's new with you? I'm just a master of impressions tonight. That's what you get. I'm taking a moment to have a little bit of water. Hello, they call me Felix. Franco says keck. I don't know what that means. Sorry.
Is that the Scottish greeting?
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Long day, of course. Keck is LOL. Oh, all right.
Oh, hit the wrong keys.
Gotcha. So, one thing I'm going to do is try some new pens tonight. We'll see how I do with them. Anytime you try new pens, there's a risk of making some big mistakes like smearing ink all over the place, etc. But gotta take chances, right? Let's see. Awesome to see you still working on Inktober stuff. I'm currently trying to finish something I started early last week. Well, good luck to you. And hello, Sheldon, and hello, Taki. Are we doing Wilford Brimley tonight? I could, but I think I just sort of did a sketch of Jason Voorhees. I'm gonna have fun with some different inking techniques on this poor guy. I'm trying to figure out though, like how I first get this red ring off of this pen so that I can start using it. Hold brush with cap pointed upwards. Turn clear plastic barrel clockwise in direction of the red arrow. Okay, clockwise. So this way. Ah, it comes right off. Then I take this off. Put it back. Come on, screw in. Remove cap from tip while holding pen with the tip down. Squeeze cartridge gently until tip reservoir fills up. Okay, there we go. I was just doing it the wrong way. Let's see what happens here. I feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I need to squeeze it a little. Oh, yep, I can see that does something. Squeezing gently, and do you see the brush is filling up with ink? But the trick is to not squeeze too much. All right, this is a medium brush tip, so I'm going to try to just sort of do a little bit of like exterior line work here. Oh, that's nice and smooth. Oh, that's pleasant. All right. It's a little trickier to control than like brush pens I've used in the past, but what's nice about this is how easy it is to potentially like, you know, refill and continue to use. All right. New things tonight. So this is a Pentel, I believe. Yeah. Pentel Arts. I brought these brush pens today. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's see. Hello, Michigan. Nice to see so many folks in here. Thank you very much for joining me. Today was fun. Didn't do the, what do you call it, the Comic Con again. Instead, I went to Pickle Festival and then spent the rest of the day with one of my best friends, my old roommate from college. It was a great day. It was a great day. Pickle Festival was a total blast. definitely recommended if you have the means. And I'm going to see if this dries quickly. Feels like a little wet. No, it looks like it's not smudging. I'm just sort of testing. Okay, I guess it dries pretty fast. So good, good. There we go. Nice discovery. I'll continue to experiment with this one a little on the outer line work, and then I'll switch over to the fine brush version. It feels like I'm truly using an ink brush full of ink. It feels like this could at any moment just unload on me. So I guess I just need to like be very careful and try to control my line work. Hello, Eduardo. Can you explain the difference between pencils, inks, and colors when drawing comics? Sure. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be from different people, but one of the ways comics became efficient and fast back in the day was divvying up the tasks that an artist could work on so that there was sort of an assembly line product, you might say. And so like a penciler would do the layouts. Excuse me. And then from there, you know, an inker would be the guy that's doing sort of what I am now, where you're really like, and the reason for the difference between penciling and inks was primarily back in the day, you know, the photography equipment for making stuff for magazines wasn't as precise as it is these days, so you needed a much darker line than you could really get with a pencil. So that's why there was an inking stage, but it also could be something that could speed it up by like having, you know, a really accomplished artist just do the breakdowns, figure out like, you know, the storytelling of the scene, and then the inker could, you know, figure out the shadows and the textures and stuff like that. So, and then of course color was just you know, to you know, add a little more overall production value to everything. And back in the day, that used to be somebody that would literally sort of like, you know, paint a page and give that information to a printer. These days, we can do that much more efficiently with Photoshop. So those are some of the roles, like how they evolved. And these days, you know, a lot of times artists will sort of ink their own work. They've always been able to, but like, you know, I think it's a lot more common these days. Not that there's always that much money, really, honestly, in comics. So if you can like get one artist to do the whole thing, so much the better. And I mean, they really even divvy up the tasks amongst colorists when you think about it, because there's flatting where you just sort of block out and put any sort of colors where they will go, and then like the final colorist is the one that can like choose the palette. They can easily swap colors if they feel the need to, as well as doing things like various rendering techniques to really bring it all together. So anyway, hope that helps. I see you talking a lot about your teenage days. What did you do in college? How was it? I didn't know I talked about my teenage days that much, but college was great. I enjoyed overall. I enjoyed my time there. I mean, it's sort of stressful in a way. You know, you're working hard and stuff. And I got my degree in marketing. I graduated from a business school from Tulane University, and for most of my career, I've been doing like marketing, which is, you know, coming up with how a company sort of sells itself, and coming up with like the brand, coming up with things like you know, advertising schedules and social media calendars and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. All right, so now I'm going to try this fine-tipped one and see how this goes. And while I can totally see these being great for filling up large areas, they might be just a little too muddy or thick for me to do like most of my work in. Oh shoot, look at that. That's what I was totally afraid of. Bear with me, I'm gonna go get some paper towels to clean that up. Well, they say it is a poor artist who blames his tools, you know? So I'm not gonna blame the tool per se, but that was frustrating to encounter. Yeah, I can like just turn this into like, you know, a shadow probably or something, but that's a big shadow right now. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to commit to it. Not much choice other than starting over because I don't have any whiteout or anything. Let me see if my rubber eraser does anything for this. No, not really. Okay. That's okay. You know what? It's all about figuring out how to recover from your mistakes. That's a big one, and it's not going to be perfect, but let's see what we can do with it. Let's just not give up. We'll let it dry, and we'll see what we can do. Back in the day, if you did this like on like, you know, a page that's 90% done, or, you know, at least like significantly done, something an artist would do would be to create a patch. In other words, I'd maybe like cut out a piece of paper here, just sort of lay that in place and continue the drawing, and that would clean everything up. I actually have a piece of original art by George Perez from his Wonder Woman run, and you can see, like, you know, there's a big patch that he created for it to correct something. That's okay. It happens. People are asking, or Rishi Sharma is asking, ever read Scott Snyder's Severed? You know, no, I haven't. A lot of people recommended that I consider that for this year's sort of spooky season, my horror movie reviews. Uh, it's not going to happen this year, but it is something I'll read since I got so many good recommendations, and you know, that's a potential future episode at this point. A lot of people like Scott Snyder. Talk about amalgam? Maybe. It's a possibility. There was a time throughout the 90s and even a little bit into the early 2000s when all of a sudden a lot of different publishers started collaborating. You still see some of that, like who's collaborating these days? Ninja Turtles, Batman is a collaboration between publishers. Wasn't that long ago that there was Batman Max? The Max? But yeah. I don't anticipate Marvel and DC working together anytime in the near future. Never say never, because it's all business. But right now, I don't think that there's a lot of crossover in terms of like the editors, the people in charge that are going, like, you know, that are best friends with each other on different sides of the aisle, as it were. IDW and Spider-Man did or do, right? Maybe. Do you think all Jodorowsky comics have the same plot? He explores, I would say, the same themes. So he has some of the same tropes. I wouldn't say they have the same plot, no. I would say that they have a lot of similar themes. He's really fascinated with the idea of a messiah, a cosmic messiah. He always has been. definitely something worth exploring at some point, for sure. All right, what other questions are being asked? Sorry, I was just focusing on some details. Any interest in Faust comics or Danzig's Verotic line? Never really read that stuff. I'm aware of it. It hasn't interested me in the past, but I wouldn't say no. Yeah, I never say no to a comic because you never, you never know what might surprise you with somebody's creativity or their take on some material. So I'll never say never. Trying to clean up this trouble area before I go too far with anything else. It's going to be a little tricky one to get just right, but I've got an idea here on the shading, and if I can pull that off, I can continue. And then just sort of jumping around here and there doing details that interest me. Met a really talented artist at Comic-Con yesterday named Isaac Goodhart. I guess he must have won some sort of talent competition at Top Cow a couple years ago. But I wasn't familiar with his work until he stopped me at the convention, said he watched my show, generously gave me one of his books, Postal. It's really cool, but I'm also like a big fan of like crime comics. What a discovery! It's so fortunate because it's definitely the kind of thing that's right up my alley. I really enjoy crime stories, and that's what he's working on. And I love like ones with a dark, gritty, grounded type of art style. So I don't know how many of you out there are familiar. RuneScape, thank you so much. RuneScape has generously done a super chat. Just want you to know, I appreciate it. Do I like cars? I like cars a lot more now than I did a few years ago because I became a car salesman, and after a while of just sort of like being around cars and learning some stuff about them, you start to appreciate certain things that car manufacturers do. So I like them a lot more now than I did like a year ago or something. But I wouldn't say I'm like a big car guy. I'm not the most knowledgeable or anything, certainly. But yeah, I like cars. I like I've come to appreciate the value of 6 cylinders over like fuel economy and 8 if I can get like a pickup truck. I've come to appreciate the value of like not just a lot of horsepower but a lot of torque. I've come to appreciate the value of a lot of nice features. So, yeah. Well, I'll have to keep practicing with these Pentel brushes, but I'm not sure that they're quite right for me on something like this. I mean, that was really frustrating to, right away have such a big problem with them. I'm still like sort of afraid of like smudging over here, and I need to like put in quite a bit of ink to correct all this. Oh wow, Tyler! Hey, thank you. Tyler is A former coworker. That's so kind of you. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for watching, first of all, but thank you for the super chat. That means a lot, man. I really, really hope your next job goes fantastic. I'm confident it will. You're a really smart guy. Oh, that's so nice. Let's see. There's a few questions. How's New York treating me so far? Fantastic. Oh, I know a story that I can tell you all. So, I said earlier I went to Pickle Festival today, right? And I like pickles. I'm not like the world's biggest pickle fan, but I definitely enjoy a good pickle. I especially like sometimes a spicy pickle, and that's ironic because of what happened today. So, I got like sort of a flight of like about 5 different pickles, something like that. And I'm digging in. It's like, okay, here's a half sour, here's a dill, here's something a little spicy. I was having a good time. I enjoyed what I was having. And then like in amongst all of these, there's like a like what looks like a bit of red pepper. I was thinking it was like a sweet red pepper. You can get red peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers, just to like add to whatever you're eating. And like if you get like I don't know what, like maybe like a sausage, right? You get some green and red peppers on it. They're sweet. So RuneScape, thank you so much. I will. Okay, I'm starting to think that Rune might be somebody I know. Let me finish this story real quick, Rune. So I was anyway. So I've got this red pepper. It's not huge. It's like I don't know, like. No, I was trying to like come up with how big it was, but it was bigger than these two things together. It was a good chunk, like there. Okay, you got like a chunk. And I go, oh, sweet pepper. That would taste nice after having all these salty things. And I take a big bite, like right into the part that has all the seeds, and I'm crunching down on the seeds. My mouth just erupts in flame. I'm going, oh my gosh, what is it? Christy, my fiance here, she goes, that's a Scotch bonnet. That's a type of a habanero. It's spicy. I was like, I didn't have any water. I didn't have any bread. I didn't have anything. My mouth was on fire. I just bit into that thing so confidently. A nice sweet pepper. That will complement this. That is not what I got. What I expected and what I got. It brought me right back to, if you've ever watched like one of my very first videos, might have been the very first video. No, it wasn't the very first, but it was near the first. And I ate some like hot peppers while reviewing like Rob Liefeld's work. It was like that. Like my mouth was just on fire. I had not been in that kind of pain from like heat in quite a long time. Like for years. Oh, it was a nightmare. RuneScape asks, do I like the Fiat Abarth 500? And I'm really curious, Rune, is there any chance that you are Austin? Because my friend Austin has a Fiat Abarth, and it feels like a coincidence to be asked that question by a complete stranger out of all the cars out there. Do I like it? I like it for some people. I see the fun in it. It's not the car for me. I'm too tall. It's too tiny for me. It's too tiny. But it's a cute. It's not just political. I'm serious. It is the right car for some people. Like if you want to drive in the city, right? City parking is a challenge. Something small like a Fiat Abarth is a good option there, especially if you want to have something that's sporty. Like on the weekends, you get out of town and you want to kind of like, you enjoy driving and you like having a manual. Fiat Abarth makes sense. Not gonna say that it doesn't. It's a sporty little car. It ain't for me. It shouldn't be for my friend Austin. He should know better, but it's for some people. I am Austin. I knew it. Are you and Tyler just hanging out together watching this? You guys should be having more fun than this. You'd make a great salesman. I am a car salesman. Thank you, Gargamon. Silver Age or Golden Age of comics? Boy, That's an interesting question. I would say in general, I do lean a little more towards the golden age because, so many new things were being created, and it was very experimental. Not all of it good. I've had a lot of fun episodes where I make fun of ridiculous ideas that people had in the golden age, and I love it. I love how they just threw things against the wall to see what would stick. All right, so Chris, from 1 to 10, how would you rate your weekend? Oh man, it's something like a 9. You know, I guess I've had better weekends, but not lots. It's a great weekend. I'm having a wonderful time. Um, yeah, it's really, really fun. I love Comic Con. I love getting to see my best friend Evan. I met some really amazing new people and some generous people. Like I was saying this in the stream last night. A bunch of people like stop me, like strangers, to tell me they watch the channel and they really enjoy it. That made my day. And then some of them had tables, and they would hand me a book to read, not asking for a review. Like, at least it didn't seem like anyone expected a quid pro quo. But I mean, bad choice of phrases for today's day and age. But yeah, it was wonderful. Like, that's so nice to be given a bunch of comics. I love reading comics. Of course, I'm going to read anything that you hand me. Have I played the Friday the 13th video game? Yeah, both the old NES one and one I enjoyed even more, that recent one. I supported that Kickstarter, so I got that on, for what, PlayStation 4. There's this guy in here, RuneScape, that only plays video games on computers. He doesn't understand how fun it can be to play on consoles. It can be really, really fun. Right, people? It's totally unfair. Everybody's on my side in here for the most part. Just throw somebody else under the bus. It's terrible. Let's see. The new Ghostbusters remake looks great. Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. Sigamig says that people probably love my positivity. I get told that a lot. I'm not going out of my way to just be all sunshine and roses, because, sometimes I'll point out some bad comics, or at least something in a comic that doesn't work for me anyway. Just try to be honest. But if people get a positive vibe from me, I love it. There needs to be more positivity in the world, less cynicism. And all I can say is I probably put a lot of effort into trying to be positive, just because on a personal level, I suffer from depression, and I kind of always feel exhausted and bad, but I don't want others to feel bad. I want others to feel better than I do. I put a lot of effort into making other people happy. Maybe too much, but it's important to me to try to make other people happy for some reason. I'm a people pleaser. Who's my favorite fiction writer? Oh, that's a really challenging question. Favorite, like, fiction writer, because that goes beyond just comics. Just favorite fiction writer. You know what? Let me think of like whose books I've read the most of, because that's probably the most sort of scientific way to say that I like someone. And if I go that way, it might be Stephen King, which wouldn't have been my first guess, but like if that's like one way to look at things. In terms of like, a favorite book, fictional book of all time, I really enjoyed The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. Some of you comics readers out there may be familiar, since he dabbled in comics a bit, but and The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay is a fictionalized account of two Jewish immigrants in the United States sort of breaking into comics and coming up with a successful golden age superhero, as well as dealing with like, romance and the troubled times, like, leading into World War II and stuff like that, especially for Jewish people. I love that book. I've really enjoyed a lot of classics, fiction writer. I mean, I do like Shakespeare quite a bit. I also happen to like Charles Dickens a lot. A Tale of Two Cities is something that made me tear up when I finished it. Haven't read it in a long time though, so I don't remember it super well right now. Have I read Salem's Lot? I read that when I was like really young. I don't remember it super well right now, but I did read it and I enjoyed it. What other questions are being asked? The Stand is better than it. The Stand is probably my favorite single Stephen King book, but I am a big fan of his series, The Dark Tower. I'm even like totally satisfied with like how the novels ended, which a lot of fans have a few issues with, and I get it, but for me it did work. Um, yeah, Stephen King, like if he has a problem area, and I think he'd even admit to it, it's endings. Like he's not great at wrapping all of his stories up. Some of them have pretty weak endings, or end abruptly, or don't have the right amount of closure. So that's sort of a knock against Stephen King. But I do, in general, really like his work. Do I have a favorite album? Um, Probably. Give me a minute. Um, I think "Licensed to Ill" by the Beastie Boys. To be honest, that's the one I've listened to the most. I get a lot out of it. Really, kind of cheers me up most of the time. Um, I've also listened to a fair amount of the Beatles and Elton John, which I never really thought when I was younger that I would be a big fan of because they were like kind of before my time. But I've really grown to love both of those musical acts. Maybe that makes me seem a little old that I like, such. And everybody kind of likes those bands, but yeah, it's real. I do like them. I've listened to them a lot. Elton is timeless. Kubrick's Shining is better than Kong's Shining? What's Kong's Shining? Can you recommend some recent graphic novels that are quick reads? My wife isn't into comics, but she read a copy of Moon Cop and like, oh man, quick? Almost everything I can think about is, stuff that's based on like, like a 60 issue run or something. If anybody else out there has like, can think of something that's like a quick recommend, go for it, because off the top of my head, that's a little bit of a stumper. A quick read. I mean, I don't think it's the quickest, but I think that Blankets by Craig Thompson is something that like general audiences uh, can enjoy, and it doesn't take that long to read. It's shorter than like reading like 60 issues of a series. So that's one idea. That's all I've got off the top of my head, man. Did I watch the new season of Samurai Jack? No, I've never seen Samurai Jack. Aware of what it is. I like the art style of, and I'll probably mispronounce the name of the showrunner, but Gendy Tartovsky, something like that. I like his art style, but I haven't seen Samurai Jack. And these days I don't even have cable, so I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have much time to watch TV, like working on comic tropes. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, what do you think about Evil Ernie? Um, eh, what would I say about Evil Ernie? I'm not a huge fan of anything I don't think that Brian Polito's made. I'm trying to think if there's anything he's done that I've been into. Um, It's not really for me. Feels a little edgelord sometimes, but at the time that it was coming out, it was a little like less. It was a little more original. I'll definitely give it that. Um, there wasn't as there wasn't that much of fiction quite like that at the time that it came out. So it was at least kind of a unique sort of thing. What happened to Evil Ernie? He was awesome when I was in middle school. Well, maybe it is awesome. I haven't read it really. Did I like the Dark Tower comics? I didn't read them all. I read the initial ones by Peter David and Jay Lee. Those were pretty cool. I got a little burned out on Jay Lee's artwork, which always looks good, but also, because he like shades everything with like the same extreme lighting style, sometimes I get like frustrated that I couldn't like make out exactly what a character's features looked like. Like every illustration was good looking, but like on a storytelling level, I was sometimes having trouble telling like what a character looked like or how they felt emotionally. Um, Kind of a weird complaint, I suppose. But yeah. Just finished third volume of Blade of the Immortal. It's great, but fights are a little confusing and sometimes can't tell who is fighting who. I guess I could see what you're saying there. They definitely challenge you to pay attention, and they don't always follow the full cinematic rules of things like, not breaking a 180-degree plane when you're switching, camera angles within the same scene. So, like, there is some unique storytelling there. I think as an illustrator in general, he's quite good, but like his finales that he's sort of known for, like the final shot of a battle that's like a 2-page spread, can sometimes look a little confusing. So I get it. I think it's worth getting past and trying to comprehend because I think he does a lot of really beautiful, delicate line work with his character stuff. But that's me. Do I like Guy Delisle's work? I love Guy Delisle's work. I'm a big fan in general of nonfiction comics. Not to say every nonfiction comic is good, but when they're well done, I find that very engrossing. And the cool thing about Guy Delisle is beyond just being nonfiction, he's going to some parts of the world that a lot of us will probably never go to, even if we become, big travelers. I love traveling, but I doubt I'll ever go to North Korea. I might go to right up to the line in South Korea, but I don't have any plans to take a trip to North Korea. But he lived and worked there. As a Westerner, that what an amazing perspective. And you can't take photographs and stuff, but there's nothing saying that when you get back, you can't make a comic book about your time there. So his books like Shenzhen and Burma, his time in Israel, and of course Pyongyang. Pyongyang is probably my favorite of his books. They're really informative. Guy Delisle, for those that don't know, is a cartoonist and a supervising animator from Canada. Now, Canada actually outsources, believe it or not, some of its animation to studios in North Korea. There's not a lot of work there, but North Korea does have some animators. And Guy Delisle was, a supervising producer that was selected by his company to go over and live there and supervise the work. So he lived and worked in North Korea for a time. It's amazing. It's amazing how they tried to convince him that everything was always totally fine and amazing, and it's South Korea is, I mean, North Korea is like perfect. It's kind of funny, honestly, some of the stuff that they try to pull off that like he just was never falling for. Yeah. If I had unlimited resources for my channel, what would you do? What other kind of content would you create? Oh, that's a cool question. Thank you. That's from Bond a Schedule. I don't know how to pronounce that. If I had unlimited resources, what I would probably do is travel and interview. More than interview, I would like sit down with like other comic creators all over the place and just sort of record like a day in their work life to really understand like how their particular approach to comics goes and try to understand by just talking to them like throughout one of their work days like what time they get up, what they eat, where they work, and how they like their place organized. And I would just do that with like as many creators as possible. So kind of what I do now, except that instead of me giving my personal like commentary and stuff, I would just get a lot of opinions directly from the creators themselves. That's something I'd really, really like to do with the channel. I don't know if that's realistic that will ever happen, but that's what I'd love to do most. And then beyond that, maybe also just travel and go to like comic book stores and comic conventions in other countries to compare and contrast like how they approach comics and what's important to that culture. I think that could be very interesting material. If it's not too personal, what do you do for your full-time job? That's not too personal. I've mentioned it before. Right now, for the last like over a year now, I've been a used car salesman. So yeah, I guess I won't say where I work just so that it doesn't look like I'm commenting on their behalf because I'm not. Like any opinions on this channel are 100% mine. But yeah, that's what I do, and I do pretty well there. It's not what I studied or what I did for most of my career, but it's just something life took me in that path, and that's what I'm doing now. So I'm trying to make the most of it. I will say that I really like all of my coworkers and my managers. So that's nice. I worked at a lot of different places, and you don't like not everybody always gets along, even if you don't like actively have personality conflicts. Sometimes people just don't get along. Like their personalities just don't jibe. So you avoid sort of working with each other here and there. I haven't had too much of that problem really. If I look at my career, but I can say that like in general, like everyone at my job like does a really good job getting along, collaborating, handing things off, and communicating. So I like that. We've got some pretty good management. Ah, did I watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? I did not. Sorry, I just realized that I didn't adjust this camera angle up. Well, that's not true. I watched a little of it on Netflix, I think, a while back, and it was really cool. The animation was great. The idea behind it seemed cool. I just didn't watch it all the way through. I just too much going on. But it seems like a really well done show for what it's worth. It's something that if I had a lot more free time, I would definitely consider going back and trying to understand better. It's a piece of media I feel like, yeah, I missed out a tiny bit on. Alright, I saw your vids on Rob Liefeld. Well, thanks. Thanks for watching. Have I ever read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super? Nope. I've read about their creators, well, the creator, I should say, like Akira Toriyama, because he's an important figure within manga. Dragon Ball holds an important place within manga. But no, I haven't watched it. Every time I see a clip, I don't really care for the animation style. So it just seems too limited and stuff. I don't know. I don't. The animation really turns me off, to be honest. And I think we're allowed to have opinions on such things, such as aesthetics, and the aesthetics of that do not really work for me. It's like good kids shows all stopped in the early 2000s. Well, I think that, like, honestly, people always think that about, like, whatever generation they sort of grew up in. Like, trust me, there's kids today that think that the shows on now are the best. There's kids from the 70s that think that their shows were the best. So it's a really common thing. You're exposed to what you're exposed to at a young age, and when that changes, like, of course you're not going to be as into it. I think you would like the first part of the Dragon Ball manga. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. In my opinion, who's the best final girl in all of horror movies? Probably Sarah Connor, because the first Terminator is absolutely horror. She was really amazing in every iteration that she's been in. I liked the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That was a really underrated TV show. And after that, like Ripley from Alien, all the Alien movies. I think that those are the best sort of final girls because they level up in a huge way. All right, Beta Ray Bingus gave a super chat and says, "Hey Chris, can't stay for long, but do you have a funniest in-canon DC or Marvel single issue that comes to mind?" Funniest in canon. Whew. Oh, that is. I feel like I owe you an answer since you gave a super chat, but give me a minute because that is a toughie. Like the stuff I remember laughing at as a kid was mostly stuff like Peter Porker and What the, Not Brand X, like, intentionally humorous comics, but they weren't like in continuity per se. I did find as when I was younger, and this is just to a degree teen angst edgelord stuff, but I did really enjoy the Lobo paramilitary Christmas special. I thought that was pretty funny and in canon. I think that Lobo's a pretty funny character in general. I think that some of the ambush bug stuff is funny. So I guess that listing those two right away just sort of tells you that I think Keith Giffen is a pretty funny writer. Have I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I have. I really liked it. My sister's an amazing artist. She draws anime really well. What kind of ink pens should I get her as a Christmas gift? Inking pens? Maybe, I mean, in general, Pentel is a really good comic. Pen maker? What?
I was just gonna say Copic.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely get her Copic markers so that she can, like, color her stuff to the best of her talent. Like, I think that would be a very generous thing to get her. Start with some of the like sets of grays, and then if she really likes them, you can graduate to getting her like colors whenever possible. Like that would probably be something really awesome to get her. Other than that, like I brush a lot with these Sakura Pigma markers. A lot of people like drawing with technical pens, but you could also just get her just a simple, nice number 2 brush and some India ink. Wow, okay, a bunch of people tagged me with questions. Let's see. Lobo, okay, there's an agreement there. I missed a super chat? Did I? Folks, tell me, did I miss a super chat? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Like, oh, I did. You're right. Stephen Germain. Thank you, Stephen. thank you also for pointing out that I almost missed it. Let's see. What foreign comic talent is underrated in North America and deserves better exposure? Oh, wow. In my opinion, Naoki Urasawa. He's my favorite comic creator these days. Japanese, really popular in Japan, not too well known outside of Japan. I think if one of his things ever gets adapted into, like, say a movie or something like that over here, that there's a good chance that could change. But so far, we the closest I can think of is, like, there was an anime adaptation of his book Monster, and that was like translated into English, but that's not quite the same as being like created for a North American market. Yeah, so Naoki Urasawa would be my answer there. I would also say, of course, I can't use my phone right now, but I'm gonna reach across to type something into my computer. There's a, oh darn it, I've lost my internet connection here.
You're still broadcasting.
Yeah, I know, because I'm not
Can I use
using
my phone?
Wi-Fi there. Yeah, could I?
Yeah.
Chrissy's talking to me in the background to tell me the name of.
I love that. Here,
No,
I'll give you this one.
just real quick. Thanks. Appreciate it. Bear with me. I'm gonna look something up. There's an artist writer that I want to recommend to you from Europe. All right. The Spanish author Juan Diaz Canales and the Spanish artist Juanjo, and I could be mispronouncing that, it could be, but Juanjo Guarnido. Juanjo Guarnido. They do a comic called Black Sad. Oh man, fantastic stuff. Very stylish turtleneck our boy is wearing. Well, if you are just jumping in, that's because of a very specific accident that happened here with where some ink fell on this page. So I was sort of forced to give him this shirt. I wanted to give him a couple layers of shirts. Not doable now. Thanks again for those super chats and for the cool questions. That's always fun to get challenged like that. Appreciate it. You covered it up nicely. I mean, I had to just turn it into a completely black shirt, so it's okay. Wish I didn't have to do that, but it's okay. It's okay. Well, tomorrow's my last day here in New York. I'm going to miss it. I love being on the East Coast. I love New York. It's an amazing city. Not too many, not really any that are exactly like New York, to be honest. But it'll be nice to get home too. It's always nice to sleep in your own bed, be with, like, your pets and your friends and stuff like that. There's a comfort there. But I love traveling, and I like New York a lot. There's a lot. If I was rich, this would definitely be a city I would consider getting a place in. If I was rich, I was at work, and saying if I was rich, it made me think of this. So I'm going to tell a short story here. So sometimes at work I have to sort of be in this office setting, and every once in a while it can be kind of quiet, and you're sitting there usually with two other people. And I'm there with one of my coworkers, and she's singing a little. She's pretty good at singing, and that was enjoyable. And for whatever reason, like, something she sang triggered a memory of a song, and I started singing, like, "If I was a rich man," and Fiddler on the Roof. And she sang along and stuff. And my third coworker, that's like, sitting there, I'm counting me as one of them, is really young and he doesn't know what we're singing. And I kind of joke and I go, "Hey man, what's your favorite Jewish musical?" So, we're just singing Fiddler on the Roof. And he goes, "I don't think I have one." And I was like, "No, I'm just kidding," because we were just singing from Fiddler on the Roof. And he goes, "What?" And I go, "What? What do you think I just said?" And he goes, "Did you just say, like, you're from the musical Hitler on the Roof?" So he just didn't understand what the musical was. And I guess if you've never heard Fiddler on the Roof and someone asks, "What's your favorite Jewish musical?" it's not the worst guess. But yeah, I don't think that would be a hit play musical. Hitler on the Roof. Nope. Didn't quite get that one right. So that was fun. Do you think money can buy true happiness? No, money can't buy happiness. Money can buy comfort and some less stress. So that's a real thing. That's about all I can say about that. It can't buy happiness. Like if you suffer from depression, you're not gonna magically make that go away. If you're lonely, like if you want to find a girlfriend and you haven't, like being rich doesn't make you have a girlfriend. It might give you opportunities, but I would say that it does reduce stress though, right? I mean, come on. Like who doesn't want to not worry about paying bills? So I think it helps. I think it helps. It doesn't in and of itself make happiness, but it definitely helps. And I think people are being dishonest if they say that that's not the case. Am I? Yeah. Making sure I was centered right. Happiness is like art, it's subjective. That's true. Friday the 13th Part 4 is the best Friday the 13th movie. I agree with you, Table Guy. I do. Do I play any musical instruments? I wish I did. I don't feel I have much aptitude there. And sometimes I feel weird saying that because some people will say, like, "Oh, I have no talent. I can't draw." And I'm like, no, anyone can draw. But so maybe I could play a musical instrument. It's very difficult. I've tried like a few times. My fingers like can't form the muscle memory that I want them to, if that makes sense. So I don't have a lot of talent there. Now my fiance has a lot of talent there. She plays the violin very, very well, and she can play a number of other instruments when she feels like it. And I really admire it. I love listening to people play music. Everybody likes music, but I can't really play. I wish I could. I've seen the trailer for Jojo Rabbit. I have not seen the movie yet. I'm, definitely curious about it. Hopefully, get some time to get out and see it. That would be cool. My pen is dying on me, so it's good that I'll be home soon and can get new pens. So I need new pens. What's the most cynical and bleak comic you've ever read? That's a good question. What's the most bleak I've ever read? Probably something like The Boys, honestly. I thought that was pretty cynical and bleak. I think I said as much in my review. Doesn't mean it doesn't have any redeeming quality, necessarily. But it was too cynical for my tastes. I didn't feel like it was really saying too much. Whereas the TV show, I think, is commenting, instead of on just superheroes, I think it's commenting more on, like, capitalism and politics. And I think that's pretty weighty subject matter that's totally worthy of being explored and is being explored very, very well with the Boys TV show. But they didn't really explain. They didn't really explore quite the same area in the comics. Brat Pack. Yeah, Brat Pack was definitely something I just thought of saying. Jason killed your pen. What's something you really want to happen in movies or TV, but you know probably won't? Oh, I don't know. Nothing pops into mind right now, but I haven't really been thinking in those terms. So that's a good challenging question. I don't know. I guess just in general, I'd be for more originality. So when somebody like, Paul Thomas Anderson or Quentin Tarantino make a film, you generally know that you're going to get a new story, something like told to you in a new way, and I like that. I like being surprised. The Coen brothers, a lot something like I don't know. So I like something new and unexpected. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy stuff like adaptations of like Marvel superheroes because I definitely do, but I like new. I like new and unexpected. Am I excited for the new English release of Ping Pong? Uh, what? What is happening with Ping Pong that's new? I didn't know there was a way to make Ping Pong new. What would the new English release consist of? Ping pong with razor blades? What? Do you think you'll be picking up the Cyber Frog comic? No. Have I been reading House of X Powers of 10? I have. It's amazing. That's a way to do X-Men that's unexpected. I don't know where it's going. There's only one issue left, and I don't know where it's going. Mango Do recommends something by a creator. Let me figure out what that creator was. Teo Matsumoto. Okay, I'll have to look up that creator. I'm not familiar. Are you just drawing Jason, or are you doing a full scene? Just Jason, I think. It's already been about an hour, I think. So I'm probably gonna actually wrap it up pretty soon. Yeah, just trying to do something for the word husky, and thought, well, our boy Jason's pretty husky. Right? Right. Yo, your boy Jason, he'd be pretty husky. One thing that's fun of like drawing characters that are supposed to be like sort of dirty and scuffed up is you can add a lot more extra detail lines to sort of imply all that wear and tear and stuff, and none of them are really wrong, at least in my opinion. Ever read manga about bad boy students like Crows or Drop? Nope. Favorite horror franchise? Didn't I answer that last night? What was it? Oh, there was one last night that I figured out, and I now all of a sudden I'm forgetting it again. Because I was starting to say like, oh, maybe something like Scream, but then like a better one came along, and I couldn't remember. I can't remember. It was just last night. How frustrating. Well. That's great. I can't even remember. Well, in my defense, I'm doing a fair amount. Comic-Con, Pickle Festival, seeing friends, like exploring the city. So, in my defense, I am doing quite a bit. I guess if I'm forgetting some things right now, it's somewhat understandable, I hope. Evil Dead. That was it. Evil Dead. That was my favorite franchise. Jason has been bulking up. Look at those arms. Well, I mean, look at the guys that play him. Like, you know, he gets stuntmen that are pretty built. At least from parts sort of like 6 forward, something like that. Not the Hostel movies. No, I don't care for those movies. When people say torture porn, sometimes they lump in movies like Saw. Yeah, Saw, and I get it, but in my opinion, they're not nearly as bleak and cynical as something like Hostel, that just like supposes all foreigners are like dangerous and like sadistic and crazy. It's so. It strikes me as like a really xenophobic movie, even though I don't think that was their goal at all, but it just comes across that way to me. It's very depressing. I also don't feel like the people in the Hostel movies really are given like even a fair chance at ever like escaping. So we're just like stuck with them like in like these final brutal moments. Whereas like in Saw, I can like say, okay, well this is not fair per se, but they have like the main characters usually have a small chance of escaping, and I feel like that's more horrific in a way. Like if somebody has a chance to escape, and if you like them and then they can't, I don't know. That's more heartbreaking to me than just like watching somebody that never has a chance and you're just watching their final miserable moments. Ugh, forget it. Ever checked out the Australian horror movie Wolf Creek? I have. It was interesting. I read that it was like sort of based on a true story, but the more I read, I was like, nah, I don't think like it's. If you watch the movie, there's so much conjecture because like the only thing that's known is like something like 3 people went out into the wilderness and one came back, and then like the movie is like it was a serial killer guy from like a horror movie, and I'm like, there's really no evidence that that's what happened. So based on a true story, not really. Have you ever considered drawing a comic as a side project, maybe a one-shot idea that's sitting in the back of your mind? I've got some ideas that I really really want to turn into a comic, but I don't think I'm really the right artist for them. I've written some stuff that I'd really like to do. Like I've got like got 2 sci-fi type ideas and one that's nonfiction that I'd really love to turn into published comics. But right now, I'm just not in a position to be able to afford to hire an artist. So that's the big challenge there. You know, someday maybe. If this took off, I would. That one of the things I'd probably invest my earnings in it would be to hire an artist. Hope you're having a good one. Well, I am, and a lot of that is thanks to all of you out there. I wonder if your new subscribers know your superhero backstory. Probably not. I've only mentioned it like a couple times on like, live streams, but that's something I would like to make a comic about is like, that I that I dressed up like a superhero and went out into the streets to help people for like about a year. In retrospect, kind of a dumb idea, I think. I don't Did I help people? Yes. Did I inspire people because of the costume? No. And that's what I thought would happen. I was not too smart. There's a documentary that ESPN Sports Center made once on Phoenix Jones, and I'm in that. Yeah, with Phoenix Jones. If you've ever heard about it. That drawing looks great. The ink accident helped. I don't know if it helped. There was a lot more that I wanted to do for like some specific like wear and tear here and like indicate like a layer of a shirt and then underneath was like another. I wanted to do a few things with like folds and stuff that I didn't really get to explore. But whatever, it happens. Um, I did see the movie Super. Um, Phoenix Jones has a cameo in that, but like not as Phoenix Jones, just as a guy who notices Rainn Wilson's character the first time he comes out in a superhero costume. My superhero name was Omega. There's not a lot that you'll find out there about me. I mean, it's mostly about Phoenix, of course. But yeah, that's something we did for a while. Pretty silly. But I did help some people with like first aid, help find like a lost person, broke up a lot of fights. So I think as a comic it would like be kind of interesting because it's like kind of ridiculous, but it also would have like actually some sort of kind of cool action scenes, just like a real superhero comic. So that I feel like that would be kind of unique. I think I've got like some interesting stories to tell from that time period. We'll see. Maybe someday. Maybe. 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 I guess I'm about done with this drawing, but it was fun. Oh, wow, Magic K, thank you for the super chat. Would you consider doing a Joker episode? I did do a Joker episode. I just did it like what 3 weeks ago or something. Yeah. Oh well. Thank you, Magic K. I appreciate the super chat. Maybe you're asking would I do an episode about the movie? Um, Probably not. I would love to do some reviews of movies and certainly comic book movies. Honestly, the problem is I just don't have enough time. It's such a challenge to even get comic tropes, just like an episode a week done. that I just don't have the time to do any more content than that, really. I'd love to be able to generate like extra episodes for, say, like, my Patreon supporters and stuff, and every once in a while I could do a little something or get something out to them early, but I just don't have enough time to do like sort of movie reviews. Let's see. D Sandman says, hi from Seattle. Hello from America. RuneScape says, hi from Tacoma. Again, hello from America. I love how casually you're talking about how you became a literal vigilante for a little while. That's almost cooler than actually being a vigilante. I don't know, man. Like I said, you can look up like Phoenix Jones ESPN. There's a short documentary, and you'll see Omega speaking on camera and in the background of some scenes. And I think that there's actually a couple other little documentaries out there that, like, because I know we filmed some with like students and stuff, did some student films. Maybe someday I'll like, put some links out there and like, but I don't know. It's not really something that I'm not exactly proud of it, but it is interesting. I'm not ashamed of it either because I didn't like hurt anybody, like at least nobody that didn't deserve it. And I certainly have no legal cases against me or anything. I testified against some people that did some bad things. Anyway, it's a weird time. I had just moved out across the country. I didn't really know many people. Phoenix Jones was one of the few people I knew. So I was like, I'll give this a try. At the time, I had like been, when I first moved out, I had been like taking Krav Maga for like a number of years. And I was at a point where I was like working out like about 2 hours a day. I was doing Insanity during my lunch breaks and then using a personal trainer in the evenings. So I was like in better shape, and I was like, way more capable. So it wasn't like the worst idea, but yeah. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I wouldn't. Be proud, nothing to be ashamed of. It developed who you are. Thank you, Austin. I wish they'd remake Friday the 13th the way they're doing Halloween, but making a thought-out plot through 8 movies and not being written one movie at a time. Well, that would be cool, but some of the appeal of these movies is the fact that they're schlock, or that they're like, exploitation. So if you take that out, it may actually not work quite as well. I don't know. I think that that's gonna do. I think that that's where I'm gonna end the stream tonight, folks. I may do a stream really early tomorrow, to be honest, because what's my other option? Well, what time would we get back home? Like 9:30 or something? I'm either going to do one tomorrow morning, or it's going to be really late Pacific Coast time, okay? So I wish I had more details, but tomorrow is like, I'll eventually be flying home. And so it's like the day is sort of up in the air. I won't be in the hotel for very long. I mean, I have to be out of the hotel pretty early, but I won't be home till pretty late. So more likely, I'm going to be doing a stream very, very late.
It would be earlier than this, though.
Would it be earlier than this?
Yeah, because, wait a second. No, it would be later. You're right. Sorry.
Well, what time is it like back home? Like it's like 8:30 right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say,
So it'd be extra late on the East Coast.
yeah, it'll almost be the next day on the East Coast when I jump in next time. But for my personal time, I'm still sticking to Inktober, doing a drawing a day. I'm benefiting from sort of going back in time 3 hours. Oh, hey, Jean, my sister jumped in. Thank you very much, Austin. I appreciate that. Let's see. Andrew Jefferson says, hi, Mrs. Tropes. Maybe they heard you yawn or something. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's true. You were talking with me. You're Mrs. Tropes. That's your nickname on this channel. That's funny, Mrs. Tropes. You should find a way to draw Omega and Phoenix for Inktober. I've drawn myself as Omega once. I don't think I've ever drawn Phoenix though, so maybe that would be fun. That could be fun to do. I'll give it some thought. I'll give it some thought. The fun for me about Inktober is that you don't think ahead to the next day. It's always like, you know, you're supposed to not plan it out. Chrissy, my internet, you know, is only on the phone. Can you look up the Inktober prompt for tomorrow? Unless anyone out there can just jump in and tell me what the Inktober 2019 prompt would be for day 7. By the way, at Comic-Con, the guy that came up with the idea for Inktober, oh, thank you. Okay. The guy that came up with this, Jake Parker, was doing signings and stuff at the Blick art supply store, and they had a booth at the at Comic-Con, so I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, the prompt for tomorrow is Enchanted. So Enchanted could be a lot of different things. Let's see. Tomorrow, if I stick with a horror theme, like it makes me think of things like, you know, like witches or at least the supernatural, but not necessarily like a werewolf because they're not like enchanted per se. So I have to think about that, like what like would work there. You have some pretty good scenes on the Phoenix doc. Yeah, I think I had started wearing like a new costume that I think makes me look kind of bulky, but I do Quado. Yeah, maybe I will. But I had another costume before that. Costume, suit, I don't know what you want to call it. I kind of like my original suit more in retrospect. The Witch is from Macbeth. I do love Shakespeare. You should give Jake Parker's book Sky Heart a look. Oh, all right, that's a good idea. A talking frog. Do spooky boys. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to go. Enchanted. That's the word for tomorrow. Don't have an idea yet. I'll come up with it tomorrow. I'm going to take off for now. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate the questions and the support. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you all tomorrow once I get home. I think that's the most likely thing. So if you want to find out when I'm doing these, what you can do is hit subscribe on my channel and then hit the bell icon. That should give you a notification when a new episode goes up or when I go live. Sabrina's a good idea. Anyway, so I'm going to take off. I appreciate everybody's support. There's like, you know, from like head to toe, there's what I came up with, Husky, a nice husky boy, Jason Voorhees. Friday the 13th. See y'all. Remember to keep reading comics. All right. Take care.